Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, Prince Albert Fund alumni and candidates, future laureates. The mission of the Prince Albert Fund has always been the same. We unleash young talent in Belgium, we contribute to the companies of tomorrow, and we give a humble contribution to Belgium's wealth and prosperity. We've been doing that since 1984, and that yielded inclusive the candidates of today, 416 people that went through the pleasures of the fund. We have been servicing companies, the champions of today, like the names that you see on the screen, and you see a bunch of new names, the champions of tomorrow. A number of those names may not be familiar to some of you, but they hopefully might become household names tomorrow. We will actually have one person speaking to you later that can bridge between both the champions of today and the champions of tomorrow, who has been a Prince Albert Fund of the first laureate of the first generations, spent significant part of his career for one of these eminent Belgian companies, and is now into another chapter of his life. I'll let him speak for himself later on. We celebrate here tonight 26. It is an incredible cuvée. It's probably the largest one we will have had on stage since the start. And before we do that, what I wanted to take the occasion to inform you all where the Prince Albert Fund is. We are in a phase 2 since 1984 to 2014. We call that phase 1. We are now in Prince Albert Fund 2.0. The objectives of that second period of 15 years was to double the impact of the fund and to also modernize it and optimize it for the new generation. Keep it topical for the children that are born between 95 and 2000. Our future target group is not the people here, is the one that have recently been born. This is an interesting statistic. You see on the left side of your screen how many people we send on average. The objective is to double that. We want to be able to fund and send 30 graduates each year as of 2020. And we, thanks to all of you, are very near that objective. The secret sauce behind doing that has been the incredible willingness from many people in this room and many outside to give back, the so-called paid-forward mentality. Many of us have benefited from the vision of people 30 years ago and 35 years ago, that thanks to whom we stand here. And the same goes for us and for the people that become laureates today, to give back for those in the future. I want to thank here officially all the people that have been giving their time in the jury. This was a rather big jury, because this year we selected, just a few weeks ago, 25 candidates that will be leaving within 9 months. I want to also thank the many people who are mentoring. Every candidate that leaves gets a mentor. There's many people that help match with companies, so I want to thank those. I want to thank all the sponsors and the people that are supporting us over and above and beyond to help us with the possibility to finance these grants. So thank you, and you will also hear, particularly from McKinsey, later on today. I want to thank my fellow board members. What you see is since 2014, we have changed the board by asking the alumni to take control, and it's an alumni-led board with a representation of 4, both federal and regional employer organizations that are very active and contributing, and I want to thank them for it. And of course, under the parrainage and wisdom of the King Baudouin Foundation. Thank you, Luc, for keeping us on the right track and keeping us on the values track. Now, I do live in New York, I live in Manhattan. I am not afraid to ask for more money. This is what Americans do. Fundraising is an art and a science, and I would be remiss to not take the opportunity to be generous before it is November or Christmas. Christmas has come early, and for all of you who are willing to help us, please keep helping us. We want to get to those 30 grants a year, and particularly for the alumni. 57 euros a year per alum helps us to fund one alumni. We have essentially, next year we can finance 28. We want to bridge that gap to 29 and 30. Help us close that gap. That's one of the goals. So we can stand here and say, 30, we made it. That's my 1 minute, 30 seconds commercial pitch. Last year, for those people who were here, I promised that as a steering committee, we are constantly looking back to see how can we keep this beautiful organization contemporary and topical for the next decade. We are looking back to say, how was it born? One of the principles on which the Prince Albert Fund was born is to say you can do your traineeship outside of Western Europe. That was one of the principles, to give people a challenging context outside of the quote-unquote safe Western Europe. That was the core principle. We've looked at that principle and said, well, we are in 2.0, but Europe has gone to N.0. In 1984, ladies and gentlemen, when the fund was born, we had only a few countries that formed the European Union, Western Europe. It was the core 6 plus Britain was still in there, and is still. They joined 1973, and then we enlarged all the way till 2013 when Croatia joined. That's when the EU 28 that you know today is there. This is a magnificent, huge market. Today, according to our norms, you cannot do your traineeship in that market. So one of the big discussions we've had inside the steering committee is say, should we or should we not change that constraint and give people a chance to also get that cross-cultural management experience inside the EU. This is the EU as it might look in the future, as it might, because you never know until it's happening. But let's say the EU of the 26 is interesting. Also from an economic perspective, if you look and talk to the companies, nearly 80% of our export goes to the EU of the 28. That means if the Prince Albert Fund candidate is looking for a company, we exclude quite a bit by doing so. Therefore, and if you then look, we can be proud, we can create the Spotifys of the world. Europe, there is more to Europe than meets the eye, and we would like to put that in perspective. Also from the candidate perspective, which always is at the center of what we do, we always think, what is the best challenge for the candidate of tomorrow? What would be an experience that stretches you? We know that Erasmus stretches people. It has been a proven successful program in the world, in Europe, for a long time. Many Belgians have participated in that. So we said, well, conclusion, why would we not make Europe or help make Europe great again? I don't know if you know the abbreviation, but you have MAGA in the United States and we have MEGA in Europe. Now, to the point that Bernard was saying before, we are an open economy. We do not say Europe first or Europe only. We are saying also Europe. That is one of the key changes we would like to share with everybody. And therefore, as of the candidates of next year, we will be open for the right European challenge with the same strict standards as we apply to the old, the PAF to date. So that's one of the changes that we will bring. And with that, I would like to close my remarks. Help us make that 30 number and keep Prince Albert Fund flourishing and growing in the future. Thank you so much.